One of the first steps of media planning is understanding what each media type has to offer advertisers. So we're going to look at the media benefits of each media type. Let's start with magazines. Right off the bat, magazines are really good at reaching a small, cohesive group of people. They're really good at reaching niche audiences. I like to show this as an example. I found this in Orchlands one day. A magazine just for ferret owners. Now that's a niche audience. No one's going to read this magazine unless they own ferrets. So if you sell some sort of ferret food, this is where you got to run your ad. This is what magazines do for advertisers. They really bring together a group of people that have something very important in common, and that's the exact target audience that we want to reach. Also, magazines tend to have pretty high reader involvement, and that's because these subscribers pay for this magazine to receive it in the mail once a month. They're very interested in the topic. It's a hobby of theirs, it's an interest of theirs, and they'll put money on the table in it for a subscription, maybe a year in advance, maybe even 2 or 3 years in advance, because they want that information because they're so interested in the topic. Because of that, the readers tend to actually be reading the magazines and being involved with the content of the magazines. Another benefit of magazines is they tend to be around for about a month. That's a long shelf life. In contrast to, say, a daily newspaper, which is going to be just daily, or a 30-second or 60-second radio spot that's gone after a minute. So if a magazine's around for a month, that's a huge benefit. It's going to be in the target audience's environment for a long time. Another benefit of magazines is they tend to be printed on really good paper. And that's good for a lot of advertisers because their message looks better, especially advertisers who are focused on image products, hair, makeup, shampoo, clothing, fashion. They want those pictures to look really good. So magazines are good for that because they have really high quality paper. There's also a lot of opportunities for magazine ads to be really creative. They can be several pages that unfold. You can attach things to the pages of magazines. You can have something pop out of the pages of magazines. There's just a lot of things you can do with the paper of a magazine. Let's move on to radio, and let's look at the benefits of radio. Right off the bat, though, I just want to say that we're only looking at old-fashioned over-the-airwaves radio here in this class, just the traditional terrestrial radio. We won't be diving into any satellite radio or any digital streaming radio. We're just going to be learning about the old-fashioned terrestrial radio. So what is the benefit of radio for advertisers? Well, if an advertiser wants to reach a group of people that have a very specific geographic location, radio is good for that, old-fashioned radio, because it only reaches a certain geographic area. So it's really good at reaching just a certain city or DMA, designated market area. Another benefit of radio is for commuters, radio is a captive audience. So the idea is that a lot of people who drive long distances to work, they're stuck in their vehicle while they're going to work. That makes them a captive audience. There's not a lot to do while you're driving to work other than listen to the radio. So radio's strength is reaching commuters when they're going to work and from work. We even call it morning drive and afternoon drive. That's where radio stations make most of their money, and that's where their ad rates are the highest because, 1, more people are listening, and 2, they're a captive audience at that time. Another benefit of radio is if you are an advertiser that has to get a message out quickly, you can do that on radio. You can call up your ad rep at the radio station in the morning, and your ad, if the inventory is available, your ad can be on air that day or maybe even that morning. So that's a big benefit for messages that need to get out quickly. Let's just say there's a snowstorm coming and you're a hardware store and you sell shovels. Well, you can get that ad on the radio within a day, 24 hours. Another benefit of radio is there is some targeting of a group of people by the format of the station. So there's a number of different formats, and we'll look at those later. But for example, maybe a lot of them are music formats: country music, uh, rock music, jazz music. So as you're identifying your target audience, you're going to have a feeling that they're going to prefer one type of radio content over another. And so we can use that as part of the benefit of a radio. Another thing about radio is they're really good at promotional events. So for local businesses reaching a local audience, some radio stations are practically promotions companies first and radio stations second. They'll come out to your location, they'll set up a live remote, they'll encourage people to come to your location, they'll have giveaways. They're really good at that kind of energy, creating that kind of event for their advertisers. Let's next look at Google Ads. I started with magazines, then radio, then Google Ads. That's because that's what we will most likely be focusing on in this class. So I'll go over the other types too, but these are the three main ones we'll focus on in class. So Google Ads is next, and what we're looking at are those ads that appear on the search results pages. So these ads that you can see here, these are all paid for ads on a search results page. So this is also another example, and we can see that it's an ad because Google labels their ads as ads. This listing down here is not an advertisement, it's just an organic listing. I cover that in my web publishing class. What are the benefits of these ads on Google search results pages? Well, they're really, really excellent for that time, place, circumstance. Remember, we're trying to deliver a message to the target audience at the exact moment that they're thinking about what we have to offer. Well, when are they thinking about what we have to offer? It's sometimes hard to know. Well, with a magazine, we know that if they're interested in that topic, they're going to sit down and read about it, so that's really good. Radio, depending on the format and when our ad runs, we're not quite as close to this. But on the internet, this is really great because the user is basically declaring what they're thinking about at that moment when they enter keywords into a search engine. So whatever you're selling, you're going to have a list of 100 to 10,000 keywords that are going to relate to the thing that you're selling or the thing that you're promoting. And you buy ads, and your ads appear when somebody types in those words. It's really, really excellent for time, place, circumstance. Google Ads are also really good at geo-targeting, and I mean like hyper geo-targeting. When you buy ads on Google, you can set not just your city, but you can go down to a zip code, you can go down to a geographic area, you can go down to a neighborhood. It's very precise geo-targeting. So if you want your ads to appear only when someone types in ferret food, you can set that just not around Maryville, but even a smaller little subsection of Maryville. It's really fantastic. It's hyper-local. You can also target certain demographic and psychographic features using the Google interface. Another benefit is you can reach people when they're on their mobile phones. You can reach them on their watches. You can reach them on their laptops, desktop, the whole deal, cross-platform. Another benefit of Google Ads is they're really good at tracking the results of how your ad performed. Really fantastic analytics. How many times did your ad run? What was the click-through rate on that ad? Once someone clicked your ad, exactly what happened? What did they do when they landed on your website? Did they ultimately go through and buy anything? I mean, it's a fantastic way for advertisers to see the exact value of an advertisement. And this is really why Google's so fantastically rich, because other media type just can't offer that. You know, if you run an ad, if you're an advertiser, you run an ad in a magazine, you hope that the person seeing the ad is going to, well, see it, read your ad, react to the ad, and buy something. But it's really hard to prove that that advertisement in a magazine actually led to a sale. It's not hard to prove on Google Analytics at all. If somebody clicked your Google ad, you're going to know exactly what happened to each person that clicked the ad. So it's what advertisers always want. They don't want to waste money. They want to know their ads are working. And that's why so much money has been shifted from other media types to Google Ads. It's also good for this concept called A/B testing, because you can see exactly a click-through rate of an ad. What you can do is write 2 different ads for your Google search ads. And they might be selling the exact same thing, but if you write them slightly different, one might have a higher click-through rate than another. This is called A/B testing. So you create an A version of your ad and a B version of your ad, and then you see which one performs better. And then whichever one performs better, of course, you use that one and you ditch the other one. So it's really fantastic for that kind of data analysis. So these are the media types that we're looking at. We've covered magazine and radio and Google search. And next we're going to go through the other media types. Magazine, and here is a summary of what we've just gone through: the benefits of magazines, the benefits of radio, and the benefits of search ads. Let's look at the other types now: newspaper, outdoor, and television. Again, we're just looking at the benefits from the perspective of an advertiser. So if you're an advertiser and might want to be run an ad in a newspaper, one of the benefits is they tend to be local. This is just like radio. So radios and local radio stations, local newspapers compete against one another for the advertising dollars of the local businesses. So local means that newspapers tend to reach just a specific geographic location, a specific city. There are some national newspapers. We've got USA Today, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. Those are some of the national newspapers. The titles might sound local, all except for USA Today, of course, but those all are distributed across the country. The rest of the newspapers in our country are all local, and they help advertisers just reach a certain community. Like radio, newspapers are also timely, especially daily newspapers. So if you, again, have a message you need to get out right away, there might be a snowstorm coming, you can also run an ad in a newspaper. You couldn't get the ad in the same day, but you might be able to get it in the next day, just depending on when you call the newspaper and when their deadlines are. A benefit of newspapers over some other media types is they tend to be educated readers. So you're learning that now, you're in school and you're starting to realize the value of in-depth news stories and how that helps you understand the world around you. And that's a benefit to advertisers, because a lot of advertisers want to reach, well, people with higher income. And as you obtain more education, you tend to have a higher income. So those two things tend to go hand in hand. We can also do some targeting by section of the newspaper. So if we want to target perhaps people who are in a sports target audience, we can run our ad in the sports section. If we're targeting, if we have a religious message, we can run an ad in the religious section, and so on. So there's some ability for us to go deeper in our targeting than just the geographic nature of newspaper. We can place our ad in the section that makes the most sense for our target and our product. There's also some really interesting opportunities for inserts. You can do some really clever things with inserts in newspapers. Sometimes you can even buy an ad on the plastic that's wrapped around the outside on rainy days. You can even put product samples in those plastic bags sometimes. So there's all kinds of interesting opportunities to be creative in newspapers. Let's move on to outdoor. And again, big benefit of outdoor is it's very local. So where a newspaper is covering a city and a radio station is covering a whole, city and maybe outskirts of the city, well, a billboard is something that's in a very specific location. And that can be really good for us if we want to say, for example, take the next exit for our restaurant. It's very local. Talk about time, place, circumstance. Our target's driving down the highway and they're getting hungry, and bam, there's our message, take the next exit. So it's very local. Really big opportunities for creativity. I'm sure you've all seen some pretty clever billboards, but we can sometimes look at a billboard and it almost looks like a theatrical production. We can attach props to it, and we can expand it and we can build it into the environment that it's in. It's just really lots of opportunity to turn that into a huge eye-catching piece. Let's move on to television. And the benefit of television for advertisers, this is kind of like magazines. It brings like people together. So it helps you really reach a very cohesive target audience depending on the show. Cable and satellite shows tend to have smaller viewership, and that's good for us, right? Remember, bigger does not equal better. We want that small, cohesive target audience, and that's what we get on cable and satellite shows. So take, for example, a show that's maybe on bass fishing and a cable channel, or maybe it's a show on how to renovate old houses. If we sell something related to bass fishing or related to renovating an old house, that's us. That's exactly where we want to be. And remember, we want to reach our target audience only. If anybody sees our ad that's not interested, we've wasted money. And this is where those niche TV shows really pay off for us. We can run TV ads either local or national. We covered this a little bit with the Super Bowl. Most of the Super Bowl ads are national, but we can run a local ad in the Super Bowl and it's only seen in that geographic area. So we can basically just pick out where we want our ad to appear geographically, and then of course that's going to align with where our target audience is. Television can be timely too, just like newspapers and radio. If we need to get a message to a target audience tomorrow, we can maybe do it on television if our ad is ready to go. So it might take an extra day or two or week, depending on how complicated our message is, but we can have a pretty quick turnaround time in television. There's also a lot of opportunity to be clever and funny in television. Television is sometimes even expected to deliver a funny or interesting or entertaining message. And it's really good at that because, of course, it's got the audio and the video components. Thought I would just also throw in this, just a brief look at some other digital ads, digital banner ads and social ads, because we've included internet ads with our traditional advertising. So just take a glance at these. I'll run through them quickly. The banner ads would be just a banner ad that appears on websites, and social ads are ads that might appear in somebody's feed on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, something like that. So we can be very niche with these banner ads. Websites, just like magazines and cable television shows, bring together very like-minded people. They can be national or local. In your ads on websites can be, you can get an ad online extremely quickly. Banner ads, even social ads here. Again, just like the search ads, the ads that run on the Google search engine results pages, they're very trackable in banner ads and in social ads. And there's a lot of opportunity for interaction. You can have people, filling out forms on just within the ad themselves, and of course tracking to your website. Social ads are really good for targeting psychographic groups and demographic groups. If you want to run an ad in Facebook or Instagram, you can click down to very refined segments that relate to interests, that's psychographic, and demographic. Remember those elements, age, household income, gender, and so on. And then all of these other elements that we just ran through for the banner ads. We can have some strong campaign integration and social ads. That means if we have a campaign and our ad is running across a series of media types, magazines, radio, television, this is a good opportunity to integrate that too. And then there's also some strong word of mouth opportunities, WOM, word of mouth, in social media because of course, the social aspect of social networking, where we're running our ads next to people's personal feeds. So there can be a lot of sharing and word of mouth with social ads. And this is just a quick way for you to be thinking about the benefits of each media type as you're deciding where your ad should appear. Next, we'll start walking through how to buy each media type. We're going to walk through how to buy magazines, how to buy radio, how to buy Google search ads.